On this episode of The Sarah Jane Show, I'm speaking to a woman who wears many hats and wears them very elegantly. I'm talking about one of my dear friends, Dr. Aditi Govitrikar. She not only plays her characters as an actor incredibly, but also excels at all the other roles she plays in her life. A couple of them are as a gynecologist, a certified counselor, a psychologist, a corporate wellness coach, an MC, and a model. I did tell you it was a long list. So let's listen to how Aditi has mastered the art of being multifaceted, all while keeping societal judgments at bay. I would first like to tell everybody who's listening that I have a deeply personal relationship with Aditi. From the very first time I met her until today, it's been a couple of years, and our relationship has only grown stronger. She has been an immense support to me through my journey with my struggles with my mental health, and also with just generally being such a wonderful person to look up to, and just not just look up to, but also have by my side, if that makes sense. So thank you, Aditi. I just wanted to first say thank you for being there and being that support for me. And I wanted to, when I thought about what I wanted to speak with you about, I think for me the most obvious thing was the fact that you've really managed to accomplish so much in your life and are continuing to do so. And how we used to, I don't think we still do that much, but it's a very old school way of thinking that you choose one thing to do with your life and then you go ahead and do that, and you've just squashed that norm completely. So I just sort of wanted to lead with that, which is, when we're growing up, most of us get asked the question of what do you want to be when you grow up, and you pick one thing. And then you sort of go with that. I mean, of course, you change your mind as you grow older. I wanted to be a computer engineer when I was growing up. And then when I got older, I realized that I wanted to be a graphic designer. Now, lo and behold, this is where I am. But I feel like you get boxed in at quite a young age, and you get sort of fine-tuned into doing one thing. What was that like for you? Were you ever told to choose one thing and go with it? Yeah, tell me about that.
Right. Firstly, it was a pleasure assisting you, hand-holding you through your struggle, and that's what gives me the purpose of my life, right? And that's who I am right now, to help anybody and everybody who is struggling with their mental issues. Because when I went through my journey, my phase of darkness, I didn't realize that there are people out there who I can reach out to, and this I speak as a medical doctor. Even with my medical background, I still hesitated or wasn't aware of or didn't realize the importance of having somebody who can facilitate your journey. So I did my struggle on my own, and then I came out of it and like, hey, this is my struggle. There are many others who are going through the same. So let me take up something which will enable me, empower me to help somebody else. And that's how my journey as a psychologist, as a counselor, as a well-being coach started. Now coming back to your question, wherein I have done so many professions and enjoyed each one of them, is that no, nobody forced me into thinking. In fact, my parents encouraged me to think laterally. So I'm a doctor, my sister's an engineer, and my brother's a chef. So my mother used to joke that, typically where I grew up,
Yeah.
girls were taught to cook and to look after the homes and like go into home science and However, in my family, it was completely different. So that's, I think, where it all began, where my parents completely encouraged. And as a child, even as I think I remember when I was in junior KG, perhaps, I wanted to be a medical doctor. That was my goal, that was my focus. And I worked towards that. And my dad told me that I'm not going to give you a single penny as donation. If you're looking at getting into medical, in a private college, that's not going to happen. So if you want to be a doctor, you have to earn your seat, and that's how you will become a
Wow.
doctor. So that was like a force, a positive force in my life to
Yeah.
go and get the
Yeah.
seat for myself.
Yeah.
Well, in third year, of course, everything changed, everything shifted, and life had something else in mind for me, and I became a Gladrax supermodel, and things just started coming my way without me realizing. Until
Yeah.
then, I had no idea about dressing up, and I didn't have heels and I didn't have makeup, so no clue whatsoever about anything. So it started from zero. The whole journey started from zero, and then of course I learned my the tricks of the trade, the war paint, etc. 6 years back, I kind of came back to square one to say, okay, my brain, I love my brain. I'm I am in love with my brain. I'm in love with brain per se as an organ, right? And use it or lose it is the mantra here. Um, so I said, okay, I felt like I needed intellectual stimulation, so which meant that I needed to go back to studying, and I chose
Yeah.
psychology because again, my journey had brought me to that level. So it all kind of amalgamated into this me being okay, what do I do now? What
Yeah.
should I study so that it kind
Yeah.
of, brings everything together? And psychology
Yeah.
was the answer. And that's how it all
Yeah.
started. And
Yeah.
where changes in profession are concerned, in fact, my TED talk, I speak about it, that when we were asked to choose one thing and stick to one thing, that time the
Yeah.
lifespan was very short. Now we live much longer. So to
Yeah.
choose a profession when you're not capable of at 16, 17, 18, and then to
Yeah.
stick to that profession for your entire life is
Yeah.
difficult. So
Yeah.
why not assess your life at a certain stage when you have achieved certain, milestones in your
Yes.
career of your choice, and then choose
Yes.
to do something else and excel in that. So I'm not saying that do this, that, and jump from one ship to the other, one boat to the other. No, not like that. But you've got to reassess your life to say, okay, where are you at right now? What are your strengths? Can you work with your strengths? Right? And that's what my talk is about as well. Sorry, that
Okay.
was a long
Lovely.
answer to your
No,
question.
no, it's meant to be. It's absolutely meant to be. I think that it's really interesting everything that you've said. Given even I'm trying to relate it with my life as well, related to my life as well, and the fact that I remember when I was growing up, I got asked this by some of my closest friends. They were like, "Why do you want to? Why are you doing things all the time? Like, why do you have to do so many things all the time?" And over my now 20 years of experience in the industry and just as a working adult, I have found that it has just brought me so much joy being able to, for me, it's all about expression, right? Expressing myself in so many different ways. And then, after meeting you, also realizing that I, like you, also needed some amount of intellectual stimulation. So qualifying myself as a coach, reading more, studying more, etc., etc. And I just feel like it also just leads to a more wholesome life and a more wholesome personality. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was that, so, everyone says, oh, jack of all trades and master of none, which is a rather unflattering way of saying that you can't be good at many things. And there's been a lot of discussion about this, and there continues to be a lot of discussion about this. Should you be a master of one thing? I'm not exactly drawn to that version of it. And I'm asking you this question in specific because I feel that you very elegantly and very efficiently perform all your roles. So, can you speak into this for me, please?
Sure. So I have also asked this question to myself because I enjoy doing different things, and I think however, I also believe in excelling. So if I'm doing psychology, or if I am going to be a model or an actor, or if I had chosen to continue as a medical professional, I do believe in becoming an expert. So even if I am doing various things, I don't believe in doing a shoddy job. I want to
Yeah.
give it my 100%,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
ultimately, if you think about it, you get that satisfaction, the job satisfaction, only if you give your 100%. And I
Yeah.
like doing that. So I'm not going to, if I'm here to play a role, right? I
Mm-hmm.
will do a research into it. I will give it
Mm-hmm.
my all. If I am doing a counseling session, I shut off everything else and I'm there for that person 100%. And that's what I
Yeah.
believe in doing. And this, I was helped a lot in getting this clarity or being in the moment in true sense because of my spiritual practice, which, as you know, I mean, I'm an ardent fan, follower of Vipassana meditation. And that's where I got this clarity that, hey, I can do multiple things, but I cannot be half hearted into any. I got to give my 100%, and I need to be an expert in whatever I'm doing, which is why I'm continuously upgrading myself where my education is concerned.
Yeah.
Learning, reading, that's of course my passion. So that also helps in so the message pretty much is that yes, you can do 2, 3, 4, or 10 things, but not half-heartedly. You got to be an expert, because only then the world will pay you. Otherwise, the world is not going to pay you if you're not good at what you're doing.
I wanted to share with you that when we started to schedule for this podcast, I had actually reached out to two people, and we got mails back from both of them. One being you, and the other being my dear friend Krishna Kunti, both saying that you guys are off to Vipassana. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right with this podcast. But I wanted to bring that up, and I also want you to speak a little bit more into this, into what I'm about to talk about, which is, how do you, or what do you do, and what do you dip into as resources when it comes to this sort of endless supply, seemingly endless supply of energy, enthusiasm, and the skill to compartmentalize? Because I know that a lot of people out there want to be in the position that someone like yourself is in. But I feel that whenever I talk to people like that, they have the ambition, they have the goals, but they're very often running out of energy, drive, and don't really know how to time manage. So what do you do? What are your sort of secret tips that you sort of practice?
Well, it begins with an intention, right? At the end of the day, if
Right.
you want something bad, then you will move heaven and earth to get it. So that's what it all begins. Now, where intention is concerned, yeah, a lot of people, like you said, have the intention, they have ideas, but then what they run out of is motivation and inspiration,
Yes.
and to keep
Yes.
that thing going.
Yes.
So there are
Yeah.
various things that one can do. One is, of course, make small post-it notes everywhere and post them so that you know that you are on track. The second
Yeah.
thing which I do personally is I write down my goals in a diary. So every now and then I reassess my life. I go back to seeing, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to achieve in my life? Of course, every single time I visit my diary, I don't rewrite the entire goals. I just tweak them if need be. So I've made a plan for 5 years. And then I break it down. So I break it down beginning at 5 years, then I go to 3 years, then I go to 1 year, and then, smaller steps. Every single morning I wake up and see my diary, and that keeps me going. That, okay, and I ask myself every now and then again. To begin with, you can ask every day, every night rather, before you sleep, to say, what did I do today to take myself towards the goal that I have set myself to achieve. I do it every once in a while now, so I've stopped the practice of doing it every night. So that is the way I continue doing what I need to do. But the other one, which also helps a lot of people and a lot of my clients I have seen are using it, is having an accountable buddy. So you get somebody who holds you responsible for what you're doing. Now, here, the trick again is to put a consequence, which is that if you don't do what you've said, you will do every single day. And the thing is that you have to be consistent. Discipline is the key. Every single day, it can be a very small step, but you got to
Yeah.
take one step every single day to reach there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you tell your accountable buddy every week that, okay, I will be messaging you at so and so time, that I have done this, whatever your goal is. And then if you don't, then there's a consequence of paying a certain sum to the accountable buddy. And the sum
it.
has to be not measly, it has to be a substantial sum which will pinch you, right?
Yeah.
Now, the question that people ask me is that, oh, but what if I lie? I said, sure, you can, but who are you lying to?
Yeah. Excellent question.
Who are you cheating?
Yep.
Who are you cheating? You're cheating yourself. Then don't have goals, don't have intentions, don't do what you've said you will do, because then you're,
Yeah, and
to
then-
begin with,
and
you're
then
laying
you're-
that foundation which is weak.
And then also get frustrated about not achieving them, right? Because you're
Exactly.
not really committed to wanting to achieve them to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. And this pretty much I picked up from Vipassana, because when I went there the first time, they did not check our bags. And we are not supposed to take phones or music or writing material, reading material, nothing, right? Food. So I asked them, I said, how come you don't check the bags? And that's what they said to me, that, you have left your family, you've left the world that you live in to come here for 10 days. If you're not
Yeah.
going to give it your all, who are you cheating? What are you doing here? Then you're not giving
That's
it your
brilliant.
full attention. You're not going to get the benefit. So might
That's
as well do it
brilliant.
the way it's meant to, right? And that's
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
picked this up. Like, if you're lying, who are you lying to?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I just want to distill that for a second, just so that I make sure everybody who's listening has gotten this right. So it's very important to be consistent. Yes, it's very important to, I think, not make excuses for not showing up. It's useful to have an accountability partner, and it's also useful to have a sort of list of goals that you can revisit every now and then, just to make sure that you're on the right path.
Yes.
And perhaps also, I think that sometimes something that has helped me a lot has also been just to, after doing something, and perhaps you find that you're not being satisfied, is to just ask yourself if that goal is still relevant to you, and if you're still, or if you're just chasing after something that may have been relevant to you at one point in your life and isn't anymore. So to reassess, also revisit, reassess,
Yeah.
see where you are, see what else you need to
Yeah.
add to your kitty. um, I'm just going to shift gears a little bit now to something that I know you've heard a lot, and I know that it's really a sexist thing to say, but I don't think a lot of people realize this. So I know that you literally get heralded as the beauty with brains, and it's sort of a cringeworthy statement for me. I just want you to tell us, in your opinion, what is the 101 of why people shouldn't use this phrase?
But why shouldn't they? I don't have any issue with that, because when we
Tell me.
talk about
Okay.
beauty, I'll tell you my interpretation, and I know where you are
Mm-hmm.
coming from, because
Yeah.
when one says beauty with brain, it pretty much implies that it's external beauty. But what about
Right.
internal beauty, right? And that's where
Right.
I come from. That if I can think about the whole concept of beauty as not just skin deep, and there's nothing wrong with looking after your
Yeah.
external beauty. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
about of dressing up or looking good, and because that again makes you feel good, right? And when you
Yeah.
feel good, you look good anyway. So I
Yeah.
don't look at beauty with brains just as an external kind of beauty. But I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, fine. If that is the thing, then that is the thing. I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
problems with labels, because I don't define myself with labels anyway. But if somebody
Yeah.
wishes to give me that label, so be it. It's their perception. And I got
Yeah.
to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that also, I must say that perhaps you have a more compassionate understanding towards that sort of labeling, because of the work that you've done, because of how much you've done on work on yourself, within yourself, and the kind of, academically, how you're sort of sound, the fact that you're a psychologist. I think for me, I find it to be a sexist, because a bit of a sexist statement, because in the way that it's used, and when it's been used with me always, is that, oh, you're a woman, you're beautiful, and you're intelligent. It's almost like a question mark, like either you can be either or, um, and I somehow do not appreciate that, and I don't think that one should have to have a bearing on the other at all. And that is something that, like, I remember when I was in during my Miss India pageant, there was the girl who won Miss India Earth, Pooja Chitkopekar, and she was a cosmetic doctor, a cosmetic surgeon, and she's a stunning, stunning girl. And every time she would sort of open her mouth to share this journey about, or this part of her life, she would always get this statement like, "Oh, you're beautiful and you're a doctor as well." But I have to say, it was never a positive statement. It was always a critical, judgmental statement. But thank you for your perspective on it. And I think that perhaps we all need to be a little bit more compassionate, because we perhaps have all become a little bit overtly sensitive as well to tags and labels. Um, and sort of moving on from there, what I wanted to ask you is, have you had any experiences where people, or judgments or assumptions of being an actor, model, and doctor, have people questioned you for sort of being both, and have questioned your perhaps your capabilities or your proficiency at both professions?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I get questions like, "Oh, you're a real doctor. You mean like human beings
What?
doctor?" So I'm like, well, firstly, I don't know what a fake doctor or a quack. I mean, why would I call myself that? Then, no. What we mean is PhD. PhD. So I said, yeah, PhD is also a real doctor. I mean, they're not practicing medicine. However, they have a doctorate in something. So yeah, I mean, these kind of things, earlier it used to bother me a lot.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't. I mean, I really don't, it doesn't bother me even this much, like not even minimally. I'm like,
But I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna
you
I'm
know.
gonna stop you right there, and I want you to speak a little bit more into when did it bother you? As in maybe not when, but what did you do when it bothered you, and did it cause any self doubt, the external judgments, and how did you snap out of that?
Well, judgments still exist, right? I mean, even
Right.
as we speak, there are people, or even people who are listening to the podcast, for example, will have their thoughts.
Yeah.
They will
Yeah.
have their judgments because
Yeah.
having a non judgmental attitude is something that you really need to develop because most of
Mm-hmm.
us are judgmental. You and I
Mm-hmm.
are too. It's
Mm-hmm.
only when you become aware of of this fact that yes, we are judgmental and we do
Mm-hmm.
categorize people, then we can work on it. And secondly, there's nothing wrong in being judgmental as long as it's not hurtful or harmful or malicious. To give you an example, why being judgmental is useful for our brain is because it helps our brain to function. Otherwise, every single time, so we use our information that is stored and we analyze the situation. So, suppose I see a lady wearing a khadi sari with a jhola, right, like a jute bag, automatically a thought comes that, oh, she's a journalist or
I
she's
was
a
just gonna
social
say,
worker,
I'm so judgmental. I'm like, yes, journalist. You sound like a
right?
journalist. Yeah.
Right? But it
Yeah.
might be you playing a role in one of the Netflix series that you did. So you're an
Absolutely. Yeah.
actor. You're an
Yeah.
actor then.
Yeah.
But what happens is it's called heuristics. So our brain is kind of not working towards analyzing every single time, every single moment. When I see an apple, I
It's
know
just
it's an apple.
easier
I'm not
to got
I'm
it.
not being judgmental. I'm not going into, oh, this is a fruit, let me see what it is. It's a judgment
Right.
that okay, it's a so
Right.
judgment, having judgment is not bad at all. Or being
Right.
judgmental is not bad. It's when it has
Right.
a negative connotation is when it becomes bad. That, oh, if you're good looking, you cannot have brains. How do you have
Right.
brains?
Yep.
That is
Yep.
not a good thing. But
Yep.
then again, it doesn't bother me anymore because it is your perception, it is your thought process. Why should
Yes.
I feel bad about it? I can correct
Yep.
it. And if you choose
Yep.
to accept it, great. If you don't, then that's again your call. I'm nobody to live your life or live your journey. I can only help
Yep.
in
Yep.
helping you to get there.
Yep. Yeah, there are many famous quotes about what opinions are like, but I will refrain from using them because they're a little bit obscene. But I know you know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
Yeah, but Aditi, just before you go, I want to, and I say this with the utmost humility, and I forgive me if this does not come out politically correct, but as somebody who has had such an amazing journey from being a qualified doctor to having children at quite a young age, right? You were quite young when you had
Yes.
kids. You
Yes.
were married. You did get a divorce. You went against your parents to marry the man who you did, and then that didn't work out. And then not. I'm not saying that that defined your life, but surely it must have been a challenging time. You moved on from that. You flourished and had multiple careers and are continuing to do so and continuing to study and continuing to act and help people like myself. I want for those listening, especially the women, I want to know from you if you could advise any small bits of advice that you could give people out there who are looking to sort of be true to themselves, not box themselves in, and really feel like anything is possible. What would you say?
Well, I think this message goes out to everybody. I wouldn't only give it to women because at the
Right.
end of the day, I don't believe that women are superior or men are superior. I think we are just differently built And that's fine. Our biology is different, our brains are different, but we can't function without each other. So we got to live in harmony. Sure, I mean, years and years of injustice, or men being superior to women, or being treated the way we are, women being objectified, etc. That is something that we definitely need to work on. But only women cannot work on it. Men need to work on it as well, alongside. So it's literally hand in hand, which is why I'm saying that this message is not only to women, but to men as well. That even men should not be boxed. Nobody should be boxed unless one chooses to. I might choose a box and I can be very comfortable in my box. And
Yeah.
then that's fine too. Right?
Yeah.
But if I am put into a box forcefully, I'm not going to be happy there.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm of
Yeah.
course speaking metaphorically here, but that's what everybody needs to realize, that it is your journey, and if somebody else chooses a certain journey, you got to respect it. So your spouse wants to do a certain thing in life, you got to support it. You got to support each other's dreams, and this is applicable to
Yeah.
both the sexes, not only to women or not only to men. But I know where you're
Yeah.
coming from, being the suppressed, so to say, gender for years and years. But like I said, that both the parties need to work on it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think for me, what I really want is for people to. I know what you're saying, and I think exactly like you. I don't think it's just about addressing the women. I think it's just about addressing humanity. But it's unfortunate that I do meet more women than men who are stifled by the expectations that society puts on them, and and then boxes them. And you've sort of you've really broken out out of seemingly all of them, and you've done it well. And like I said, my most favorite word when I think of you is elegantly. You've just done it so in such an elegant, dignified way. And I just want for people out there to hear this episode and know that it's possible for them. So thank you very much for everything that you've done, and for I'm sure mostly unintentionally creating such an impact on the world, and intentionally as well. But thank you. That conversation with Aditi really gave me a glimpse into what it's like to be a Jane of all trades and do it in a sustainable, healthy way at that. I also learned the importance of being consistent, how having an accountability partner can do wonders, and got some really practical advice to maintain a list of goals that I can revisit at any time to know if I'm on the right path. So go ahead and check out our show notes to see where you can follow Aditi's journey. And for more feel-good vibes, head to Figoco. That's FEGOCO on Instagram.